Now on BBC World, Hard Talk.
Does militant Islam pose a significant threat to European freedoms? And if it does, can Europe respond without jeopardising the very principles it seeks to defend? My guest today is a Dutch MP who has been threatened with death for his outspoken attacks on Islam and immigration. He says Europe's witnessing an undeclared war. So who's winning? Geert Wilders, welcome to Hard Talk.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Do you believe that the Netherlands is experiencing what has been called a clash of civilizations?
Yes, I believe, unfortunately, not only the Netherlands, but whole Europe, the whole Western societies, are in fact experiencing what Huntington wrote down, I believe quite correctly, that there in fact is a clash of civilizations. And, well, that it, unfortunately, the sense of urgency that we need in Europe and in my own country, the Netherlands, to really solve this problem and to win this so-called clash is not there yet.
We'll talk about your proposals, your solutions, but I want to get to grips with your feelings about the people you believe are responsible for the clash. For example, after the murder of Theo van Gogh, the Dutch filmmaker, in November 2004, you said, referring to the sorts of people, the fundamentalists who you believed were responsible, you said, these people are motivated by just one thing, to kill everything we stand for.
Yes, I believe the motivation of those people is hate.
Well, let's be clear. You say these people, those people. Who do you mean?
The people that adhere to the concept of the pure and radical Islam. Unfortunately, those people are, even though they are a minority of the Muslims in the world, they are a minority that is growing and a minority that is endangering everything that we stand for, our rule of law, our civil society, everything that we stand for in our democracy. And the same goes for Holland.
Let me stop you for a second. Yeah. You talk about a pure and radical Islam. Surely this isn't about a pure Islam. There are many good Muslims who go to mosque who would be as appalled by what happened to Theo van Gogh as you were.
Yes, certainly. And the majority of the Muslims, also in my country, fortunately, have nothing to do with extremism, have nothing to do with terrorism. But there is a minority, and there is a growing minority, who is fighting against our democratic principles by using violence, by the terrorists like the one, Mohammed B., who killed Theo van Gogh. But also there's a large amount of people, between 5 and 15% of the Muslim population, not only in the Netherlands but also in other countries, that are not using violence yet, are not violent today, but have sympathy to the concept of the radical Islam.
And this group, how do you know that? You've just given me an amazing figure. 15%, you say, of Muslims in Holland. In Holland, yes, that would amount to at least 150,000 people.
Between 50. Well, our government, the Dutch government, sent a report to Parliament from our Secret Service where the number of 5% was mentioned. Other people, like Professor Janssen of the Amsterdam University, but also Daniel Pipes in the United States, I mean, is a figure that is not only used in the Netherlands, come up with a figure of 15%. So between 5 and 15%, 5% according to our government, 15% according to independent professors all over the world, in Western societies of Muslim population are not using violence yet, but are in fact
that's an awfully inflammatory statement to make. Let me just quote your own government. Just weeks ago they released an analysis, I think perhaps the same thing you're referring to, from the security services, suggesting that Muslims in Holland, and I'm now quoting, are becoming more resistant to radicalization and violence committed in the name of Islam. More resistant.
Unfortunately, this doesn't change any of the numbers I just mentioned to you. 5 to 15% of the Muslims in Holland feel sympathetic towards the pure, radical Islam. And this
Did you talk to imams in the mosques in the Netherlands?
Well, I'm not, unfortunately, because of my situation, I'm not the first one they want to talk to. I always said that I'm open to talk to anybody, whether they are from whatever religion. But this is a real problem in Holland. And once again, we are losing if we don't get this sense of urgency, and if we don't see what this kind of Islam wants to do to our Western society. We are losing our societies. We are losing our countries.
Oh, all right. Well, that's important. I want to stick with this idea, because if we are to agree with your idea that there's some sort of clash of civilizations taking place, I want you to tell me what you believe is represented by Dutch values, as you would describe them.
Yes. Well, I believe that one of the solutions is in the fact that we, one of the problems, let me start with that, is that we are not able to describe and to formulate who we are, where we come from. What is our culture? What is our dominant culture? So I proposed also in my own parliament that we get a new Article 1 of our constitution, which states that we have a dominant culture in the Netherlands, and this is the culture that is based on Christianity, on Judaism and on humanism. Of course, this doesn't mean that other cultures are not welcome in the Netherlands. People from Islamic or other backgrounds
when you use words like dominant, one will wonder whether you really welcome.
The Leitkultur. It's a concept which the word in German has, because of the past, a negative connotation. But it's something I believe to be proud of. I'm proud that I'm a Dutchman, that my country is original, and even today has a dominant culture with, from Christianity, from Judaism, from humanism, that we have values that are not Islamic, intolerant values today. And I believe this is something to be proud of. Other countries do.
Well, let's talk about values and tolerance. You said in the Times newspaper, November 2004, quote, "I believe we've been far too tolerant for far too long."
Yes, and I meant with that I believe that we have been too tolerant to the intolerant. And we should learn to start to become, of course we should still stay tolerant to the tolerant, but we should learn to become intolerant to the intolerant.
Well, I'm getting a little confused here.
No, maybe if you,
I am getting a little confused here, because this is important.
The Dutch is a country, we are a country of consensus. We are a country of tolerance. And what we like to do best is to sit under the Christmas tree, hold each other's hand and sing Christmas songs all year long. But the problems are there. They cannot be swept under the carpet. And one of the problems is that we never really face up to problems. When it comes to this concept of cultural relativism, when it comes to the negative aspects of our multicultural society, those problems are there. Look at the facts, look at the reality, and if we want to fight this problem, then we should stop once again being tolerant to the intolerant. People.
Let's stop for a second, if you would. Do you regard respect for human rights, respect for freedom of religion, as basic Dutch values?
Of course, within the boundaries of our law. And even in our constitution it says that...
And you regard respect for the law as a basic Dutch value?
Of course.
Well then...
Respect for, not only respect for the law, but also respect for the values, with perhaps one exception. I believe that people whose sole aim is to, once again, kill everything we stand for, to change our rule of law into, for instance, a Sharia, an Islamic law, to put away our democracy and get something else instead of it. For those people who also want to use violence in order to achieve this Islamo-fascistic goals, I believe that people who do that, they don't deserve the rights of the same constitution.